Well, as I began to think of some of the areas in which a father should be helpful, it seemed like maybe they were falling into another acrostic. So I've looked up some scripture verses which I'd like to read to you, beginning with Genesis 2:23 and 24, which says, "And Adam said, This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh." And then over in 1 Peter 3:7, I read, "Likewise ye husbands dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife, as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered." And so I suggest that H stands for husbands. Unfortunately, there are homes where there are fathers but no husbands. And that's a sad commentary on lives as we see them too often in this nation today. Next, I'd like to read from Deuteronomy. E. First I thought, well, maybe E stands for engineer. It'd be helpful for the husband to be an engineer, because with that background he can help the kids with their mathematics, and he learns how to fix things and that sort of thing. But I decided to use another word for this. Deuteronomy 6:4-7. "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord, and thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thy house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up." And I suggest that one of the biggest helps I feel in family life is for the father and the mother to set the example. So I'm saying E stands for example in my little acrostic here, and we'll move on to number 4, which is found in Ephesians. "Husbands, love your wife, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it." L. L stands for lovers. A husband should love his wife and also his children. Proverbs 13:24. "He that spareth his rod hateth his son, but he that loveth him chasteneth him betimes." So when you're punishing your child, as has already been said, it has to be in love. You've got to love those kids no matter what they've done. There's many illustrations of that, but we'll have to move along. So H-E-L is for lover. Let's move along to P. P, turning now to Ephesians 6:4. "And ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord." Fathers have to be patient, which means tribulation. That teaches patience. But patience is so important around a home to ensure tranquility in the home. A patient father. Helpful, H-E-L-P-F. I turn to Proverbs 5:19. If I can find the proper bookmark here. All right. F, faithful. Speaking of the wife, "Let thy fountain be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of thy youth." Faithfulness to her in every way is so important if you're going to be a good example for your children. Let's go on after H-E-L-P-F, U. Proverbs 4:7. "Wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. So you, in my acrostic, stands for understanding. The father should try his very best to understand his children and their problems and to be a resource, a help for them in their classes, but in every situation that he can, to be understanding. And finally, another L. Well, I turn now to Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, and this is the beautiful passage. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracement, a time to rend and a time to sow, a time to speak and a time to keep silence. Long suffering is the word I'm looking for. As we used to say, don't pass up a good chance to keep quiet. It can be just as expressive as a short discourse. Don't pass up a good chance to be quiet, and I'll be quiet.